Well, that's it. You know, what was it, the electric company said, keep your AC at like 76 or something. I thought, why even have it? But if you keep it at 76, it's comfortable and removes humidity. You go to the bank and they keep it at 68 and 70, and you freeze and you get hot and cold and hot and cold.
16, 17,
7 o'clock.
I know, I'm waiting for Greg.
It's been the last 3 weeks. Because they went
Can I,
over.
can I wait a couple minutes?
Okay.
Beth,
Did you
just
call
to-
Greg?
Are your changes matters of public forum discussion?
There he is. Hello, hello.
Greg, thank you.
You're fishing. You're fishing.
Is Overlook Circle here tonight? Overlook Circle?
And now being 7 o'clock, the regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Orleans is called to order. I am Michael P. Meyer, the chair. With me is the clerk, Beth McCartney, vice chair Matthew Cole, and members William McCarthy and Greg Delory. Also present is the building commissioner of the town of Orleans, Brian Harrison, and the board secretary, Sandy Stewart. Our agenda tonight includes a continued hearing, case number 1965 of Dr. and Anne Marie Hickey for a special permit, case 1966, the first hearing in the application of Nauset Regional Middle School, and other business is a board election of and officers for the new fiscal year, a discussion of the rules and regulations, some changes to the rules and regulations, and approval of minutes of the June 5th, 2013 meeting. I propose that we take and review the minutes of the June 5th, 2013 meeting first, and I'll the minutes have been circulated, and do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Yes, I move.
Very well, Mr. Delory, do it. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The minutes reflect that on June 5th, 2013, the applicant's request, at the applicant's agent's request, that is of Paul and Anne Marie Hickey, on motion by Mr. Delory and seconded by Mr. Soderstrom, the board voted unanimously continue hearing on the matter to the next regularly scheduled meeting today, July 3rd, 2013. That motion carried unanimously. May we hear from the applicant?
My name is Charles Spiegel, representing the Hickeys, and I believe that as we concluded the last meeting was to get the approvals from the covenants of the Association of Grandview, which we have done. So we wanted to let you know that, and don't know what else we could add that you might want to hear from us on.
Sir, there was a woman who lived across the street from the locus who seemed to object. I don't see her tonight.
No, I believe that the chairman of the association, Grandview Association, was in contact with her, and they settled their issues.
Fine. I can't remember any of the heads. That's the principal one.
I have the document.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be great, yeah.
Are you able to favor the board with a copy?
I have 3 copies.
And who are you? Excuse me?
Excuse me, we're the homeowners. Is that what you asked?
Yes, who?
Yes, Anne Marie Hickey, Paul Hickey.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we spoke to a neighbor, and, well, actually, it's been through email, but, we'll do what we can with trimming trees and whatever she's aware of.
No conditions? It was kind of a question, I remember, of whether the Grandview Association was going to be able to meet in time. So
They did, yes.
So it's a special permit specifically for the coverage issue, which we covered last time, I think, right?
yes. I think until that approval reaches the chair, I think that since Mr. McCarthy wasn't present at the last meeting, that we ought to cover a couple of questions. Whether any of the members of the board are disqualified by reason of a conflict of interest prohibited by law, or have any members of the board communicated with the applicant or any interested parties? No positive response. I declare that the presently constituted board is indifferent and qualified. So you will be recording this at Barnstable Registry of Deeds, I take it, at some appropriate time. I have a copy. I'm going to receive it as an exhibit today.
And that references the plans the house plans we have.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
I just skimmed it and I happened to think.
Can I ask, do the references correspond to these plans?
Yes, they do.
Are there any,
Sure, I just asked because is there, I'm looking at 5, 10, 13, and 6, 20 or 21, 13? And
I don't know why they crossed that out.
I think it's just there was a blank for the
Oh,
date, but I don't, they seem to be different than in the legend.
okay, well, it's the same. The only update is that they signed material on it.
Oh, okay, sure.
He asked to have this driveway clarified. That was coming up.
Exterior
I think
material, so
you or someone asked that question. Do you want to ask it again?
Okay.
You know?
this is the plan. Do they want to see?
That's actually what caught my attention first. I
This
didn't
is what
see,
was approved, and this is what we have on file.
Right, they're both the same thing. But they stand. So if you need a copy, the
Our
stamp
neighbor,
plan.
our building association required a stamp from Is it the same?
just the revision date, I'm sorry, the revision date that's, Unless anybody else has a further version.
Does the first floor plan have a revision in the,
Do I have the file here, Sandy?
right, in the original case file?
Yeah, it's got 520.
621?
No, not first floor plan. The revisions are 510 and 520, 2013.
So the difference is the stamp. With regard to being architect, maybe you want to show it. No,
Well,
I'm
this
not
says
disputing.
627 is the stamp. This
Stamp.
says there's a revision 621 that is not on the plans that we have, unless there's any recent in the case file.
I don't believe so.
No, because that would have been subsequent to our last meeting.
We need a copy of that plan.
Because this, we don't have the 621 revision in the case file. So this plan is not the one that'll be in the building department unless.
Right, but the reason for stamping this was for the association.
I
And
understand the stamp, but I'm
Yes.
telling you there's a 621 revision. And the stamp
Tell
is
us what
627.
difference between.
Right, but this is the plan that we're getting approved.
Okay.
So the only difference is the stamp, is that what you're
That's
saying?
what
So the only
is we
difference between
got the
that set
stamp.
and what we have is the,
Pacify
That's-
Grandview Association.
That's what I heard, that's what I heard you say.
The plans themselves are the same.
Oh, yes. Can you show that to Matt?
What's the stamp?
his own,
Yeah.
his architectural stamp.
Architect, your architect stamp?
Are you-
We have engineering and the-
Oh, okay.
So,
Can I just ask them what necessitated your?
Well, okay, wait a minute. I've got,
The only reason I revised it was
flip to the first
Grandview
one if you would.
Association wanted to know the colors of the outside of the building, so I called out white trim, white cedar shingles.
that's the
and,
existing going to propose.
asphalt.
So that's the 620 or whatever.
Reason.
Okay.
But then I've got another set of plans here.
Oh, yeah, this is the set you want to be looking at.
Where did this, well, these are different too.
These are older.
Yeah. But I can't remember, or I can't figure out what I got first, or if these all came at once. They must have all
They all
come.
came at once. Sandy called and someone in the town hall lost the plans. So we printed up more plans. Dropped those off.
Oh,
And so,
I guess, yeah.
so these must be the second set because they have a revision date of 520. Yeah, this is 510. All 510.
so
This has a cover sheet and it's
would
got
it
the,
make sense for me to sign and date each of these and enter that as the
you could just do one copy probably,
What,
if you want to do
what,
that.
what I would prefer is that we can make a correct basis of our findings if we had these two plans as a matter of record. Do you have one for us today?
this set here.
The ones that, one of them says, May 10th we have, June 21st, that's the one. I'll receive that as an exhibit. That's what I would refer.
And,
Well, in other words, whatever went to Grandview.
Yes.
Right, which is
Right.
this set.
This
Right.
set.
and there's no difference in, you're
Building?
saying, there's no difference in the drawings, the design, the dimensions, anything? Okay.
There's a lot more notes and a lot more dimensions in this set, so I'd feel more comfortable doing as you described, taking this as the record set.
Yep.
But here's all the square footage is the same, which is what the relief is for.
Can I,
Was there a revised site plan done showing the access to the garage?
It's a
The
different, that's a
driveway.
different, no, we're shifted to a different question on the driveway.
No, there was no revision to that particular piece.
Okay.
We tried to keep everything that was the same as what was filed. The only reason that those were modified was to satisfy Grandview Association. So to make it even more confusing, trying to keep all the plans the same. And so now Grandview Association then had me update the building plan, but we left the site plan alone. Does that mean we have to
No.
refile everything?
No.
So that it's getting just more confusing. Really, when we left the last time, it was based on the Grandviews Association, their approval of the
Yes.
plan, and so that's basically what we tried to provide.
Mr. Bekasi, you think you're kind of brought up to date in this hearing? It proceeded with a kind of an objection, and we were shunted because of the question was raised whether there were any restrictive covenants in the neighborhood. As it turns out, there were, requiring a certain review and approval. So
I've seen that.
it was continued. The neighbor who was present to object has apparently not seen fit to come, and it's represented that she's satisfied. Grandview Association is satisfied, and that's where we are in that. So
And among the board's deliberations last time, there was otherwise,
we didn't get that far.
didn't get that far. I
It-
feel updated then.
Okay, is there anyone, do you wish to say anything further?
No, I don't.
Are there any other questions of the board for Mr. Spiegel?
I think there's no, if we're gonna use this plan and it's the same, that was my question, I think.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition to the application? If there be no further remarks or questions from the board, then I'll close the matter for hearing and ask the sense of the board.
And lack of neighbor opposition, abutters opposition. I think the project is approvable based on the amount of land, based on where it's situated. That's all I have.
Mr. Cole, do you have any remarks?
I'm in favor.
Very well. Mr. McCarthy, do you have any comment?
E or the, at the end of that name.
Oh, Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, the plans looked impressive. I guess I'd be just curious to ask if the scale of the proposed new construction, is it consistent to some extent with the scale of surrounding properties?
Yes, it is. I think I explained the last meeting, that essentially there's a ranch there now with a low pitched roof, and so we're going to be raising that and then adding a story and a half. So it's really, you could say, adding the half story in the roof system to what's there existing. We're using 100% of the existing foundation, and with a small addition added to it. So,
The design pages I looked at were impressive, so,
thank you.
and no other questions?
Ms. McCartney?
I guess I'm still unclear. Is the neighbor, has she been pacified? Is she,
Yes, yes.
you have spoken to her
Yes,
since the last meeting? Okay.
yes.
Very well, then, if there are no further remarks, I propose a motion that following public deliberation by the Zoning Board of Appeals, a quorum of qualified members being present and voting, based upon the application of Paul Hickey and Anne Marie Hickey filed May 10th, 2013, based also upon the topographic site plan prepared by Schofield Brothers of Cape Cod, dated May 9th, 2013, based also on the floor plans, elevations, and site plans known or designated as the proposed residence for Paul and Ann Marie Hickey, Lot 15, Grandview, Orleans, Massachusetts, by Charles Spiegel, dated May 10th, 2013, and June 21, 2013, sheets 1+1 through 2-6. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the subject property known as 18 Overlook Circle is shown as parcel 40-0-R on Orleans map 29 and is in a R district. 2, the present use of the property is a single-family residence. 3, the proposed use of the property is a newly constructed single-family residence on a slightly larger foundation footprint. 4, the proposed use will not be detrimental to the established and future character of the neighborhood and will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 5, the reconstruction will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. 6, the site is adequate in terms of size and suitable for the proposed use. The site consists of 60,380 square feet of buildable upland, of which the proposed 4,634 square foot building will occupy 7.6%. 7, the proposed use will have no negative impact on traffic flow or safety. The site is at the end of a cul-de-sac. 8, the proposed use will have no negative impact on the visual character of the neighborhood. 9, the proposed use is isolated from and will have no impact on the method of sewage disposal, source of water, drainage, or water resources. 10, utilities and public services will be adequate for the proposed use or change in use. 11, noise and litter will not be increased after the construction of the proposed use. 12, there will be no adverse impact on groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface water bodies. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Therefore, based on the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a special permit pursuant to sections 164-21A, Note 5, and 164-44 of the zoning bylaw to run with the land. Is there a second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank the board for their time. Thank you.
Can I have this last of this one? I'll receive that and file.
When you start construction, you have a very big family.
And we've lived in a very small house for 20 years. Then we got big. We had 3 when we bought the house, and we had 5 next.
Very good.
Relatives in the western part of the state?
Yes, I think so. Relatives Hickey.
Only looking further west. Yeah, I think that. My mother was Murphy.
Was she Murphy?
My mother. Good luck.
Thank you all. We will now call the case of 1966 for hearing, which is the application of Nauset Regional Middle School for a special permit as set forth in General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 9, under Orleans zoning bylaw, Section 16421A, Note 5, to construct a 30 by 50-foot greenhouse learning lab resulting in more than 4,000 square feet of building coverage. The property is located at 70 South Orleans Road, Orleans map number 34, parcel 85. Attending on behalf of the board are the regular members, Marnick, Cole, McCartney, Delory, and Associate Member McCarthy. and the board secretary, Sandy Stewart, and also in attendance is the building commissioner of the town of Orleans, Brian Harrison. Are any members of the board disqualified by reason of a conflict of interest prohibited by law, or have any members of the board communicated with the applicant or any interested parties? No positive response, therefore I declare that the board is indifferent and qualified. Voting on the application are all of the members in attendance. With all those intending to testify, swear or aver that the testimony they're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Very well, then, will you present the application?
Very formal. Good evening. John O'Reilly, with the engineering firm of J.M. O'Reilly. I've been helping out. With me tonight is Dr. Minkoff, the school principal at the middle school. I've been helping their committee get the concept of the greenhouse living laboratory, if you will, off the ground. This is our third stop in front of the town of Orleans regulatory. We've gone through a site plan review process and also an architectural review process. Received good input from the site plan review and a positive finding from the architectural review. We're here tonight to hopefully gain a special permit, like the last case, for the coverage. You're all very familiar with the school building. It's some 80,000 plus square feet of coverage. It's hard to miss. We are looking to add 1,500 square feet of greenhouse, a 50 by 30 building, which will be, at this point, attached to the southern side of the building. If you're familiar with the building, it's on the side of the cafeteria between the grassy area between the parking lot and Eldridge Field and the building itself. I'm sorry?
Was attached by a passageway.
That is the plan. They are still negotiating that with the design company, but it will be attached in some fashion to the building. Why we're here is under section 164.21A, building exceeds the 4,000 square feet. I do have in the application the exact coverage. You're looking at a lot of somewhere around 29 acres of buildable upland. Total building coverage with the addition is 83,490 square feet for a coverage of 6.7%. It is a greenhouse structure. It will sit on a knee wall foundation, if you will, which will be have a veneer of brick to match the existing brick building. We've worked the grading out that the hillside where the greenhouse is proposed is going to be slightly lowered. So it's almost going to be level with the parking lot and the walkway that surrounds the parking lot. The slab is going to be at that grade. And of course, you have a prefabricated greenhouse building. I did give you a set of 7 plans showing the greenhouse. It's a prefabricated structure that they're hopefully going to order. The committee right now is in the process of fundraising. I'm sure you've seen and heard all about it. And in the formality of it, I'll just go through the findings that we've filled out for the special permit. Adequacy of site. The greenhouse is in a grassed area. It's outside the parking lot. We don't anticipate any impact to traffic flow at all. Suitability of the site. Greenhouse, again, is open in the grass area. No impact to traffic flow or pedestrian flow. Impact to traffic flow and safety, there's none intended. Obviously, the use is to be used as an outdoor classroom. So the use is going to be consistent with what's happening on the site now. Impact to neighborhood visual character. We anticipate none. I gave you some photographs of the site. The committee actually has gone and sent a mailing out well before this meeting when they started the process of notifying the abutters that this is what they'd like to do. They've got 2 responses back. I did include that in the filing for your review. The sewage system and source of water and drainage, there is no change in sewage flow. In fact, there's no bathrooms proposed within the building. The the water will come from the building itself, and we are using trenches to deal with the runoff from the roof. The utilities and public services that are there are certainly suitable for the greenhouse itself. The noise and litter, we don't anticipate any impact to this. Certainly, once the building is constructed, it will hopefully blend into the background as the building does now. And there is certainly no impact to groundwater quality, recharge volume, or water quality for coastal or freshwater bodies. There is no work within a buffer zone to Boland's Pond, which is the closest resource on the site. I feel like I've talked too much, so I think I'll end here. And Maxine, I didn't know if you had anything to add as far as the program, or I'd be happy to answer
I'd
any
be happy to
questions.
answer any questions about the program.
When do you expect to start construction?
In $25,000.
When did you start your plan for the greenhouse?
Well, last year, a year ago, we had a committee that was talking about the concept of it and what we would do with it, and really got underway this September. And we formed a nonprofit company, began our fundraising, or really developed the whole plan, and started fundraising in January. And right now, we have $75,000. So we're well on our way.
So once you hit your target, then Nexus brings the trucks in and drops it in. I thought I saw something in the, on the site plan, and I did, concerning the floor drains on the greenhouse and that being considered as an industrial wastewater holding tank, or might need one?
Well,
Have you got over that?
yeah, we did get over that.
Okay.
We got over that, yeah.
When we were going through the site plan review process, the concept of the plan of the greenhouse was in its infancy, and we wanted to cover all bases, and certainly if we did provide floor drains within the building, we just couldn't discharge them without proper address. So we included the industrial wastewater holding tank. The plan is not to have floor drains in the building like most greenhouses do not, and simply have a stone flooring, a gravel flooring with some concrete pads for access, for walking around and so forth.
And wheelchair access. Yeah, originally we had talked about a concrete floor, which is why we were talking about the drainage, and realized that that was really not necessary and not even a good idea. So,
Well, this is not the first time the school has been in front of the Board of Appeals before. I think there was an addition, or a couple of additions to, and the only reason that the school would be coming in is because of the height's not being changed. That's not an issue. That was a question earlier on with the first renovation, but this isn't. The height's not going to be affected. But the oddity in the situation is that this parcel is in an R district, and if for some reason the zoning map didn't deal in this case with a municipal or governmental structure, so you're coming in with 83,000 square feet of building coverage and asking for permission because you're bumping it up another 1,500 square feet. I mean, it's just an interesting idiosyncrasy of the zoning bylaw. There's more than 1,200,000 square feet of buildable upland, so the arithmetic is skewed to an extent that no other parcel in Orleans has that situation. There's no building bigger in all.
And no other building holds 600 middle schoolers.
Does any member of the board have any questions of the applicant?
Can you show me on this picture where the walkway is gonna be coming out?
The greenhouse is going to be right here, so we will have a path
Okay,
coming from here, and of course, there'll be a door where the window is coming out.
and then there'll be a covered walkway going,
Yes.
attaching the greenhouse?
And in fact, what we've been doing is selling bricks that will make up the walkway,
Okay.
that people can get inscribed.
Anybody else? Now, is this gonna be, majority of it is gonna be glass,
No, polycarbonate.
polycarbonate? Now, that's not breakable? Is it
It's
as,
much stronger, it's much more resistant.
so you don't have to
glass.
worry about baseballs?
Yes.
And what about security?
Well,
In what sense, as far as?
Well, I mean, is it gonna be easy for people to break into here? I mean, they're talking about all the security at the elementary school and,
Oh, as far as security to
Didn't
get
know that.
access to the building, it's going to be as secure as the remaining outside doors.
okay,
The one nice component that, thinking a little bit beyond the classroom, in that the Orleans Garden Club, and I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, have expressed an interest to helping. This greenhouse will be utilized from the exterior as well, so someone won't have to get in through the school if there's
Right.
a
okay,
class or something like that.
good,
yeah, we're very anxious to get the community to be
Involved.
part, to be involved.
very nice.
So, Mr. O'Reilly, you're the design professional that's dealing with the project. There's no architect or anybody that comes with the greenhouse company?
That's correct. The greenhouse plans are a kit that will, prior to ordering, will be, modified as far as doorways and so forth from the plans that you have, and they will have a architectural stamp for building permit purposes and loads and structural analysis. My role here is a volunteer role. I'm helping out on the committee. At some point, there will be either an architect or another engineering firm that will step in for, it is, it's a commercial building, public building, so it'd be a control build type of environment. The committee's in the process of looking at other professionals, but I just wanted to make that clear. But up to this point, I've put together the site plan, and they've used the Nexus for the template for the greenhouse.
Thank you. Do you see any issues with this, Brian? That's all I have.
Mr. Cole?
All set.
I have no questions. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Let the record reflect that we do have those two emails from Mr. Wilkinson and Dr.
Singer.
Singer expressing unqualified support for the proposal. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Then I'll close the hearing unless you have something further to say. Then, is there any discussion by the board? Very well. Then following public deliberation by the Zoning Board of Appeals, a quorum of qualified members being present and voting, based on the application of Nauset Regional Middle School, filed June 7, 2013, based also upon the site plan prepared by J.M. O'Reilly and Associates, Inc., dated December 17, 2012, and the construction drawings prepared by Nexus Greenhouse Corporation, 7 pages with various dates. And based on the informal site plan review committee report dated June 20th, 2012. I think that was 2012. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the subject property known as 70 South Orleans Road is shown as parcel 85 on Orleans map 34 and is in a R District 2. The present use of the property is a public regional middle school. 3, the proposed use of the property is a public regional middle school with a greenhouse 50 by 30 feet in dimension. 4, the proposed use will not be detrimental to the established and future character of the neighborhood and will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 5, the construction of the proposed greenhouse will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. The greenhouse will have a height consistent with the present school. 6, the site is adequate in terms of size and is suitable for the proposed use. The parcel consists of 1,263,270 square feet of buildable upland and a present building coverage percentage of 6.7%. The present school building and accessory buildings consist of more than 83,000 square feet. 7, the proposed use will be located in a grassy area with a southern exposure and will have no negative impact on traffic flow or safety. 8, the proposed use will have no negative impact on the visual character of the neighborhood. 9, the proposed use is isolated from and will have no impact on the method of sewage disposal, source of water, drainage, or water resources. 10, utilities and public services will be adequate for the proposed use. 11, noise and litter will not be increased after the construction of the proposed use. 12, there will be no adverse impact on groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface water bodies. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Therefore, based on the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a special permit pursuant to sections 164-21A and 164-44 of the zoning bylaw to run with the land. Is there a second on the motion to grant a special permit?
Second.
Very well. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You want any of the plans back?
Sure, we'll take that.
Thank you.
Now that meeting's over, I have to admire your dedication to meet on July 3rd.
I know. I don't know whose idea that was. You don't see the selectmen here.
No, no.
I'm sure
That's why
that,
the parking lot was empty.
Yeah.
I'm sure the town has cocktails and a barbecue planned for us afterwards,
Yeah.
right?
2 more items of business. One is the revisions to the rules and practices of the Zoning Board of Appeals. What has been done and circulated amongst the board is my attempt to assimilate the last draft of the revisions into the present rules and practices. The intent of this assimilation was to leave as many of the earlier rules and practices intact because our predecessors were thoughtful in enacting those, and I didn't think there was any reason for us to start to wordsmith any other sections. Whether we like them or not, that's not what we had been discussing amongst us. Only those sections, only the draft which I had prepared and we had kind of talked about. So 4 sections were affected. There were a couple of paragraphs or sections, numbered sections in the earlier revision, which were not assimilated because on further review, I noticed that they were already in there. I didn't redline them to explain that, but that's what I thought. What we were mainly concerned with was the supporting materials that goes with an application. Mr. Delory, you are absolutely correct. Elevations isn't defined anywhere, but height is. I've changed that word. And I don't know why I used the word elevation, because it really wasn't a word of art and wasn't defined anywhere. And there were-
Well, the paragraph we're talking about is, I don't know if anybody else printed it out, but it's A, because they're not, the pages aren't numbered, but A3, small a.
That's it. And I
Exterior elevations, that all makes sense. It just doesn't make sense when you get to height. The second time you mention elevations, probably should be height? Is that the only thing?
This is on, there isn't a number page, I'm sorry. It was 3, starts by talking about 12 copies of floor plans and elevations. A is exterior elevations, and the last sentence in A previously read, elevations is defined in Orleans zoning bylaw. That's not correct. Height is defined in 164-4 and 164-21C.
Okay, so that's the only, that's
I
the only
made that
word.
one change.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
think that
makes
was,
sense.
that was appropriate, and it was a scrivener's mistake.
Yeah.
Now, what other,
I like the waiver.
oh, that was at Mr. Cole's request, and it reads, see if this makes, I'd like to read it aloud just once to see if it makes sense in orally. This was a relief valve to allow an applicant to bring to the attention of the board that maybe satisfying all the detailed requirements might be a little bit too much in view of whatever the applicant is asking for. And it reads as follows. An applicant may request the board to grant a hardship waiver from one or more of the detailed requirements by claiming and demonstrating that the requirements are inapplicable or burdensome.
My question is, who decides that?
We do. We do. The applicant would have to come in and say, look, this is, my scale isn't as large to require this kind of expense, and so it's burdensome as to me, and then we would decide that. If they're wrong, then you have that.
And the last application is a good example of that, right? There's not floor plans that show the layout of the entire middle school. All floors doesn't show the entire site plan.
No.
You know what I mean? That
No.
would be an example.
But then it appears, from what you just said, is that the applicant almost has to do a pre-app with us.
Almost. Yeah, it's got to be contained in that. And they take the chance because, they're going to have to ask for more time.
Exactly.
19711 says at the end that incomplete or incorrect applications may be returned to the petitioner or rejected at the meeting.
So they
A
trade
rejection
time
of-
for expense.
A rejection of the application may result in a denial of the application. So if they come in high-handed and say, look, we really didn't think that any of that stuff applied to us, so we say, no, we could turn it down, and they're warned.
Right. So, it's just so I understand it. Somebody has a project, they bring it to Brian.
Yep.
Brian's not the gatekeeper, really, then. Is he applying these standards to, I mean, the idea was.
No, I don't think the building commissioner has to do that. He may warn the applicant that the rules and practices say this is what you need, and you take your chance by going in front of the board without crossing all the Ts.
So Sandy takes it in.
Yep.
She's not the gatekeeper either.
No.
So we pick up our packets and we go through them and we say, hey, this really needs more.
I thought I nominated you as gatekeeper.
Yeah, you did, I think. I mean, I.
So that's the normal process now with the current requirements, right? That's what happens,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so then we pass word back through Sandy to the applicant that it's unacceptable. So the two paths here, I think, are that we pass that word back through Sandy and then they choose to fill out a waiver, or they're hip to the requirements because they're paying attention
Yeah,
and they
and
fill out the waiver when they submit their
Right, it could be-
application, and then
right.
we deliberate on that before
Yeah,
the
it could be-
hearing, whether we accept.
A
It's a
request for, request for waiver.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
threshold question, really, yes. And it could, and Pat has it correct. Could happen two ways. Could happen at the outset, at the filing of the application with the town clerk, or later on, because they're warned again. They're warned by someone here, one of the board members through the secretary.
But there's also two kind of basic situations where this would come up. One is somebody, like the school, would not want to comply to all this, and they would fill out a waiver along with the application. And it would be up to us to accept it or not.
Right, exactly, and that would have been, and
I
yet,
gotta raise a flag here.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're instituting another form.
no, I wasn't thinking of that.
Yeah.
No,
I
no,
think-
no,
No,
this is just to take care of
Talking about filling out waivers.
No, it's to take care of the fellow who wants to put
Yeah.
a
So you-
a
could be a
large,
s- a
a large
request.
sign on Route 28.
Right.
You
It
know?
just gives them an out when they get here with their application, and they don't have to have everything, just like they didn't tonight. But it gives you the option to ask for something more if you want it, and send them back to get it and come back to a next meeting.
But we've identified this thing called a hardship waiver.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't mean it has to be a piece of paper, though.
Can it be a section on the application form?
Oh, I think that might be provoking too much of it. No,
Okay.
I mean, we've gone to the point where we say, look, if
Fair
this is really what we want, you follow me, Matt?
Yep, 100%.
So in other words, it's more like when they get here, they realize that they haven't given us everything we've requested, but they're gonna appeal to us verbally. I don't know, is that the
And
way?
you're either gonna buy it or you're not, which is
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much what
then,
happens
no,
now.
did I say in writing?
No?
No, well, that's
thought
what
it
I
was the
meant,
applicant,
that's what I was thinking of.
But how could it come to our attention?
No, then we need to, I think we should have it in writing. That's what I meant to do. I anticipated that in the body of the application, somewhere with the application,
Well, how about they submit a letter?
Yeah. And explaining why.
Yeah.
Prior to the matter coming to us
With their
formally?
application.
Yeah, I mean, somebody reads all this and says, wow, I mean, it doesn't apply to us. So give us a letter saying why at the time of the application. But that's one situation. The other situation is somebody applies, and they don't read, I mean, it just doesn't register with them
Uh-huh,
that they really need to do this.
uh-huh.
Then they get here and we say
Come back next meeting.
no.
that's too bad. That's too bad,
We can
Yeah.
either
yeah.
continue them,
We
or we can
right.
reject it.
Right, it all depends on the bona fides of the applicant, but yeah, you're supposed to know what's in the
Yeah.
rules and practices. I'm suggesting then that that section would read, an applicant may file a letter request that the board grant a hardship waiver, and the rest of it would be the same.
Inapplicable or burdensome, I
Part of the
think are good
application.
words.
Yeah.
Hardship's kind of like, the hardship is, I don't want to pay for it.
That's okay,
Could be.
that would be okay, that's a good enough reason. It's probably, most of the time, it will be about the money.
But if, yeah, okay.
But what's the means test then?
If you
Yeah.
need it, if the board needs it, the board needs
Yeah,
it, but if the
that's
board
right.
doesn't need it, then they don't need to go through the expense.
One coming in next month, that goes home because they couldn't afford the filing fee to notify the neighbors, and people that poor, so.
Okay.
Well, all right,
Well, I'm glad we have this, I mean, it's a great, section.
shall we, are we in a position to act on this, or shall we defer until the next meeting, and I will revise this one more time, making the change that you picked, that I've already done, made that change, and rewording the section as I just suggested, so that everybody could take one more, what?
How about, these are changes to section 197, right?
What, yeah, the rules are, yes, 197.
So, do you want me to incorporate those changes and then route the whole section with the revisions to vote on at the next meeting?
Just the way I had it, you mean?
No, incorporate those changes into the section and route the whole section, so that everybody can read it in context with the section and see
Oh, I
what it's
see what
gonna
you
look
mean.
like.
That's-
It's only
That's
handful
fine,
of
then I'll give you
pages.
this electronically, and,
Okay.
okay, and then, yeah, that would be great. That's the reason that I did that bold and
Is that
italic.
good, so that you can
Bold
read
and
the finished
italic was the
product
new
and
stuff,
talk about it
and-
again?
That's good.
and there was-
I like that.
One section was not changed, so it's not, and somewhere I added something in a section, and the rest of it was unchanged.
Mr. Chairman, could I propose a slight insertion in that?
Yes,
After the word demonstrating,
Yes.
by claiming and demonstrating,
yes,
I propose to the satisfaction of the board,
okay,
and sort of,
that's fine. That's fine with me. And
and it may be implicit, it's just, at least it kind of reinforces the board's ability to have discretion and.
well, what's good about that, Bill, is that it makes it clear that the board is the arbiter and is going to decide whether there's going to be a hardship waiver and not necessarily anybody else. Okay, that's good. All right, then we'll carry that as an agenda. I'll send this to you, make those three changes in those sections, and send it to you
And I'll route
electronic.
the whole-
If you could
I'll
incorporate,
send the whole thing to everybody electronically.
that would be great, because maybe you have 197
I do.
electronic. And I didn't, and when I was doing that, I ended up with, background grays, and I didn't know how to do it. However, the text is fine now. This leaves us with something we should have done before. We need to elect officers, 3 officers for next year. The chair, the vice chair, and the clerk. That's all in accordance with our rules and practices, which is section 197.3. Says the last regular meeting in June, we're supposed to do this. Is there any thinking about any nominations to be made, or any volunteers?
I like the current slate.
Very well, then, you make a motion.
I make a motion that we continue with current slate.
And just remind me, aside from the chair,
The current slate of officers is Michael P. Marnick as chair, Matthew Cole as vice chair, and Beth McCartney as the clerk.
fine with me.
Is there any further discussion about the officers for the coming year until June 30th, 2014? There being none, then I'll hear a second on the motion to elect. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you to Mr. Cole and Beth McCartney for continuing to serve in your present
And
role.
you
I
also.
appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Is there any further business to come before the board?
Just have a question, Brian, the case you were referring to, is that Patricia White that we're going to hear next week? So I think it would be worthwhile just flipping through quickly to looking at the application, until you said that, I would have said it doesn't, it's unacceptable level of detail to be able to understand what the project is doing, but maybe there's a hardship that you could fill us in on.
The renters, they're not, although Patricia White owns the property, is renters in the property who are fixing this garage structure outside there. And they were waiting for their tax return to try to make the notification to abutters, obviously still a center of here. So there was a money issue here.
Yeah.
She's my newspaper lady.
So the garage
So
is
you can't vote.
pre-existing, and the special permit is just to catch them up to snuff?
But decided to work without a permit, trying to renovate it. Not sure it's being recorded, I don't want to be careful what I say, so.
There's a,
Right, and I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to tell them if this wasn't going to be acceptable, and especially whereas it's the only thing on the docket next meeting.
it's still owned by the Reeds, right?
I think the Whites, I think it's, I don't know who the Reeds were.
Shortly after Matt died, it flipped over to a trust, and then very shortly after that, it flipped over to Patricia White. I don't know if she's a relative somehow or
Yeah, I don't know how
or-
she's related, so.
I thought Eric lived there, Eric Reed. Maybe it's his wife.
No, it's not, but I had to find the map and parcel number, because that wasn't on the application. And so I was looking at the property card.
Well, we're gonna be asking Brian the same questions that
Uh-huh.
we'd ask at the hearing anyway, like,
Uh-huh.
what was the problem?
Uh-huh.
What happened?
I looked through the application. I didn't spend enough time to understand it, to be candid with you.
So they were, working on the building without a permit and they were turned in or reported?
Yeah, that's not what happened, so, they were doing an addition or overhang or something in the back, and, I'm not sure they, is, nice to neighbors as far as aesthetics and so forth goes. I think that's what neighbors complain about, the businesses around it and so forth, so it's probably something that they would like to see cleaned up, put back together and so forth, but I think getting them to you, you might want to put some conditions on it if you do approve it, for aesthetics and so forth and everything, keeping things clean would be.
All right, well, let's go to the hearing and see what people say about it. The applicant and any
I guess Matt's point was, do we have enough to actually know what's going on? Do we have any photograph,
I'm indifferent. I have no feeling that way.
I mean, I think it's this, right? This is it?
Well, it's these drawings.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
That's what concerns me is, you know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I mean, even really, Brian, for your perspective, is that enough, you know, what are we really approving if you approve these drawings? Does that give you anything to enforce or,
I think whatever they started is there, I can see it. I'd probably take a picture if I had to, photograph or something. You may want to take
It's
a look
worth
at
a
it.
drive-by.
yeah.
Take a drive-by and look at it, see what you're dealing with.
I mean, this is to legitimize something that's already in place.
The building is in there in place. Let's step back. We issued one permit in error, Mike Farris did. We assumed that this was an accessory to a single-family home and didn't think anything of it. Not realizing that single-family homes were not allowed in the village center district. That permit is done and been closed out. They went to put a little overhang in the back off the garage doors. They continued it, of course, the neighbors called. And I finally realized that they didn't live in the single-family home, the big yellow house in the front that I thought they did. They actually lived up above what was one of the businesses there, the restaurant or something there. So now you have a commercial structure with a dwelling unit, and the bylaw talks about accessory structures needing special permit, and that's how we got here.
Okay.
It also talks about the residential use in that as requiring a special permit, so are they looking for relief on both pieces?
Well, I think they already live there, the residence already is. This is just a
So there's already a special permit for the,
just for the accessory structure.
The accessory structure is what's called a shed here,
Yeah,
but they live above what used to be Noni's?
yeah, the bait shop or something in that
Oh, okay.
place, if you're familiar with. This apartment above there, it's been there for years.
And they want to operate a business out of the shed, or they are?
No, they're supposed to be for their own personal use. And that's what they claim they're doing. He's kind of a mechanic or a tow truck driver for AAA or something. They have some clutter, I think the neighbors are objecting to, when I tried to suggest to put some fence up and do some things to try to please them, but.
I think the bar might be a little bit higher because of where it is. You know, in a commercial, it faces the Chocolate Sparrow
Well, or it's
parking
right,
lot.
that's right in the
CVS.
historic district, cultural district, excuse me, cultural
Cultural
district.
district,
The
right?
cultural
The brand new
district.
cultural district, right, that's right.
On the other hand, if you drive them underground, we're not gonna get any place for them either. That's
No.
the other part of it.
No, I'm trying to think of the best way to confront this.
I agree with Matt, it's like, what are we approving?
I had a hard time writing the ad. Had called the applicant to ask her what she was doing. Because I couldn't figure it out from the application.
I think if you asked them to bring some photographs in
Oh,
of what's
gosh.
there,
Sure.
that way you'd have something visually that you could have at the meeting and so forth, that could be part of the record,
Sure.
and you could work from that.
And if things worked out right, we could make findings based on that kind of evidence. We could take it out of them that way. Otherwise, there, at least approximate measurements would have to go into a plan like that.
yeah, I think photographs are a good start. I wouldn't want to make that be the only request, because then the expectation when they walk in is that what they have plus photographs is going to be good enough for approval. So perhaps if Sandy can just refer them to the current filing requirements and just make the general request to provide additional information, including dimension drawings. If we can get sufficient additional information, then they've got a higher likelihood of, or a better chance of being heard and us deliberating.
You obviously told them what they needed. And they obviously read the application, and we got what we got. I mean, I know she's gonna throw questions at me, and I'm not sure how to answer them.
At a minimum, there should be dimension drawings for the structure that
Right.
they're seeking relief for.
People get creative, you know, if they're sometimes pushed a bit.
Yeah.
And, you know,
We
there's,
want dimension drawings, photos.
Brian, can I ask you, in order for you to
Not being
issue a
hard to
permit,
I mean,
which I
we can't
guess
set
is
the
probably a corrective or remedial aspect, would you need certain specs that are beyond?
Something like this, I work with the applicant, you know who you're working with and so forth. And as long as I can determine that it meets code, I don't necessarily require them to have an architect's drawings and the same detail. I think, I hope this is off the record, but I think once you meet the person, you'll understand what you're dealing with.
I mean, you know, people sometimes they go to high school drafting student or something, you know, they somehow get it together.
And there
So
are
we
some
need
people
to-
that can't do that, and they won't. You know, it's just who they are.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
unless, did I, was I interrupting? Yeah, were you going to say something more?
No?
Okay. The fact that photographs entered into the conversation, I'm wondering, flipping through this.
Did you see that word
I
anywhere?
did, and I'm thinking, I know, for instance, in Boston, when ZBA sends out its instructions, if you will, it encourages photographs of the existing conditions by the petitioner. I'm wondering,
Applicants have used the photographs to great effect in their
Mr.
hearing.
Landreth brings them in multitudes.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is it something that,
We should
sense of the
suggest.
board that we ought to be a part of the application package or left discretionary to the applicant?
I think that if you ask for photos, it kind of implies that you're not gonna do a site visit.
It does, it would, we don't want to send that kind of message. No,
I think somebody that's astute and really wants to convince us will bring photos,
So keep it optional.
I think I want to think about that a little bit, in view of the way that we've prepared the revised application materials. You may be right.
So am I clear that I'm calling the applicant and asking for dimension drawings and photos?
Yep, more detail. Yep.
Anything else?
I mean, they don't have to state what they're gonna use it for. If it's personal use, it's not commercial use. Is that what they're saying, Ron?
That's the way it's been permitted, not for commercial use. Been very careful about the wording of that this doesn't grow into something it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
And Patricia White owns this whole lot with the restaurant, the bait shop, the yellow house,
That's my knowledge, yeah.
and the shed.
Well, someone had come in and was starting to redo Noni's, I thought. Sheet rocking and things.
They had somebody at one point that was going to take over the restaurant, and the deal must have fallen through, because
Yeah.
it never followed through again.
Yeah.
Do we know that Patricia White knows that there's an issue?
Yes,
They're
Patricia's been in to
applying
talk to me.
It's more maybe a general question, but in this case, for the tenant is applicant, at least on the form, whether, again, using Boston as an analogy, if I do that, I need an authorized agent letter from the owner to file.
My understanding is the woman, I think, is a daughter of Patricia, so she's family, sort of, so I haven't seen that as an issue.
And actually, I meant it more for our
Yeah.
consideration, whether, when the applicant is not the owner, property owner.
That gets authorized on the building permit application that accompanies, right? So we don't always get to see that, but
We raised the question periodically, that we,
Just because it's on the application.
I've had to do that
Yeah.
in most other towns on the Cape that I've worked in.
yeah.
At my level, not at building permit level.
But then we'd want to know that it ultimately has to get recorded and everything, so it's got to go in the registry of deeds.
So Patricia White is advocating that, she's an advocate of the application. She's supporting it, is what I meant to say.
Stay
Like
tuned.
through the
next week.
conversation, I wasn't sure, but she wanted to make sure that they followed through and got the proper relief.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if she was advocating for or against. She was quite a character.
Well, that's consistent with that lot,
Right.
over the years.
Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion?
I would. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, but I need everybody's
Motion
signature
carries
before that.
unanimously. The meeting is adjourned.
You need everybody's
Have a
signature?
wonderful holiday
Hey, you
tomorrow.
too, Matt.
Please do.
Have a good weekend.
Which parade are you gonna be in, Matt?
Chatham tomorrow?
Oh.
Rats, not Orleans.